Hey everyone, it's Strange Michael. I hope you're doing well today. I have a review here for a movie starring Stallone called Samaritan. It came out on Amazon Prime last year in 2022, and it's really generic. Remind yourself of Hancock starring Will Smith. You remember that old movie, that comedy, superhero type of movie? That's what this is supposed to be. It is a superhero film starring Stallone, as if he's offended that he was never in like a Marvel movie or a DC film as an actual superhero with a cape, not just some random generic guy in MCU stuff. I love Stallone. Stallone is one of my favorite actors of all time. I love anything pretty much that he's in, typically because of how fun he is. Even if it's a bad movie, he can still be likable. And if it's a great movie, he's usually really great in it. Whether it be the Creed films, the Rocky movies, the Rambo movies, the guy kills it. I don't care what he's in, I love him. Samaritan I expected a lot more than what I got. But in the vein of Hancock, which that was more of a comedy, this has humor, it has comedic elements, but this is more of a straightforward, wannabe serious movie, but at the same time it's such a throwaway, forgettable film. It's probably one of the most generic movies I've ever seen in my life, as a matter of fact. Imagine the most generic, non-popularized superhero movie, original creation put to film type of creation that you could imagine being a boring, dull type of film. And it's not even that this is boring, it's just I've seen this so many times over and over again when I get to the basic premise that there's nothing special to it. Essentially, there's a young boy who, by the way, I think this kid was really good in his performance. He is in an apartment with his mom, and he happens to be obsessed with a superhero called Samaritan, which, by the way, that's the shittiest superhero name ever. And there's this whole urban legend, we start off with the prologue of this film, about a superhero called Samaritan, who is apparently Sylvester Stallone, and he had a brother named Nemesis, and they were kind of ultimate rivals. Like, they had a big showdown, and everybody believed that both of them died on that particular firefight that they got into. And the Nemesis superhero, villain, supervillain, whatever, had like a hammer. Like a big old sledgehammer with like, you know how when you have like a machine gun and you have like the, like the wrap thing around it that you throw it over your shoulder, that kind of thing, the strap? Yeah, this hammer, this sledgehammer has a strap to it. What the fuck? Anyway, everybody believes those two guys died that particular day, and now this young boy happens to believe, when he sees some weird things with Sylvester Stallone, who's just kind of a random guy in the apartment complex he lives in, he believes that Stallone, after a couple of cool events, might be Samaritan in hiding after so many years of being gone. I think it's like 20, 25 years, something like that they say in the movie. And eventually, over time, they kind of begin to bond, because this little boy doesn't really have like a father figure in his life. It's really just he and his mom. His mom works a job, really stressed all the time. The boy spends a lot of time alone. But watching this kind of father-son bonding between he and Stallone is kind of quaint. It's kind of nice. I kind of enjoy that to an extent. There's also kids that bully this young boy. One of them happening to be Moses Arias, I think is his name, the kid from Wizards of Waverly Place. You remember the little rat-faced kid? It's him. He looks like that one rapper. What's that kid called? That rapper that's famous for, like, snitching? 69? I don't know what his name is. But he has, like, his hair, like, blue on one side, pink on the other. It's very weird seeing him play a gangster role, as Weasley as he's supposed to be in the film. But, then there's like a bad guy in the movie who's a criminal. He has a sister and a group of gang members and whatever who wants to become Nemesis. He's obsessed with Nemesis, the old supervillain from back in the day that may or may not be dead. And he wants to become the new Nemesis, essentially. He goes looking for the sledgehammer that got locked away in like police lockdown stuff, like in special evidence chambers and all of that at the police station. He wants the mask. He wants Samaritan's old mask. He wants all of this stuff. Now, let me talk about Samaritan and Nemesis costumes. They are way too similar. In the movie, when they do these flashback things to Samaritan and Nemesis fighting on that particular day they supposedly died, the costumes look way too similar. You can't really figure out who's who until we get some of the close-up shots later on in the film on the Samaritan symbol and the Nemesis symbol. But both look like shit. They remind me of Steel with Shaq back in the day. If you haven't seen that, you need to look it up and then see this movie. They look really, really bad. This movie overall, it's not a bad movie, it's just kind of dull. It's kind of, again, just generic. Everything that could be kind of half-assed about it is kind of half-assed about it. Aside from Stallone's performance, aside from the little boy's performance, that's really all it has going for it. The special effects can be okay, but there's not enough of, like, fight scenes and flying scenes, even though I don't think Stallone's character can fly, he's just really strong. A lot of that stuff is really not necessary to have a ton of CGI and special effects, so they don't do a whole lot of that. But there is some wonky-ass CGI in the third act of this movie, which is weird because the CGI throughout the earlier parts of the film, the first, hour of the movie, when we have those moments, they look pretty good, you know? The writing's not very strong, the directing is not very strong, the look and cinematography of the film is not very strong. It's just okay. All of it is just okay. It's just fine. As fine could be. The music is really generic, too. This film just overall seems like a way to try to be like... It was hyped up as a Stallone superhero movie. And that's basically all it is. But it's old man Stallone. It's not 1980s Rocky Balboa Rambo Stallone. It's old man Stallone, who is still Stallone, who I love, like I said. And if you love him too, this would be worth a watch if you like this kind of thing. But there are moments that the fight choreography, for example, when we see certain scenes with fights, the choreography is awful. It just sucks. It feels like they just took some rando off the street and asked them to design a choreography for a fight scene. And it just feels unimpactful, you know? It's really rough, you know? But anyway, when it comes to Samaritan, have you seen this film? I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments down below. If I had to rate it on a 5-star basis, I think I'd give Samaritan like a 3 out of 5 stars. It's really rough in a weak way, but it's not a bad movie, you know what I mean? Like, I enjoyed it. I had some kind of want to finish it and want to see where it goes, and there's this really awful twist later in the film. Not in like an awful, like, oh, that's so horrible to watch that happen to somebody. More like, why the fuck did you decide that was a good choice? Anyway, have you seen the movie? What do you think about it? I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments down below. Thank you all for watching, guys. God bless you all, and goodbye.